Hello, everyone. Let's do a quick sound check. Does everybody hear me? Or at least can I get some type of confirmation that we are live? Hopefully it's working. We'll give it just another minute here, and hopefully some more people will join us. Okay, I did get a confirmation that audio seems to be working. That's great. Like I said, I'll just give it another couple of seconds here. I know some people are dialing in right now, and we don't want them to miss out. But it seems like everything is working great. Okay. Well, again, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for this webinar about API teams. Are you excited? I know I'm excited. API skills are a foundational piece of your digital enterprise's ability to rapidly deliver new products and capabilities. These skills should be required for all software roles, not just for middleware specialists. However, even with the right talent, enterprises may struggle to improve efficiency or accelerate transformation. API teams must be supported by leadership with proper organizational alignment and entrusted with the right task. That is what we are covering today. Hopefully you're all in the right place. So welcome again. My name is Chris Hood. I am a digital engagement lead and transformational strategist with Google Cloud and Apogee. I will invite you all to take a moment, grab my email address here. If you have any questions, we'll try to answer some at the end of the webinar. We'll have some time. There is a section here where you can write in your questions. And otherwise, if I don't get to your questions, or if you have something that you would like to talk about afterwards, feel free, again, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to respond and assist the best I can. So there's my email address. I'm going to tell you a lot today. Take screenshots, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can get a copy of this presentation after I've finished. Okay, so real quick, before we get started, I did want to mention a tool we use to help assess your business's digital maturity. It's called Apogee Compass. It measures your company's capabilities across 10 dimensions of digital transformation. Over, say, the last 2 years or so, we've accumulated best practice data from thousands of companies, and we use Apogee Compass with our customers to help them in their digital journeys. But you can also access it online and take this assessment yourself. It will give you a digital maturity score, and we can provide you with recommendations on getting your transformation unstuck, so to speak. So again, take another screenshot here or click on the link, compass.apogee.com. You can feel free, take that assessment. And part of the assessment, if you look closely over in the top left-hand corner, there is a piece, a section, one of the dimensions is talent. And so we're going to come back to that at the end of today's webinar and talk a little bit more about it. But that is all part of the assessment and what we're covering today. Make sense? Okay. Let's start by assuming everyone on the call knows what an API is or what APIs are. Hopefully you're here because you are interested in starting or improving your existing API program. You should also understand, though, that APIs are leading digital transformation today. Accepting this sort of as a foundation is the key for analyzing what you need to build for your consumers. APIs are helping companies create new connected experiences. They help enterprise be more agile, and they meet consumers' demands more quickly. And APIs open up new business models, allowing the company, your company, to collaborate with partners and potentially monetize those digital assets. So I'm sure you're asking, how do we make all of this happen? Well, of course, API teams. The API team has a diverse set of roles with a diverse set of perspectives, so that as we approach APIs, great API teams bring IT, business, and product groups all together in order to deliver successful digital experiences. That's really the key here. The API team is harnessing all of those perspectives together to build digital experiences. The API team is ultimately responsible for designing easy-to-use APIs, help bring those APIs to market, deliver world-class developer experiences, drive ongoing API improvements through monitoring and analytics, and maximize the business value of APIs through monetization, growing your ecosystem, or getting more participations and partnerships within that ecosystem, evangelizing the enterprise API program. As you can start to see, hopefully you can start to see, API teams are critical to the success of your API program and ultimately the success of your digital economy. So who is on the API team and how are API teams structured? It's a great question. It's a question that I am asked often. So let's dive into that. Let's first start by talking a little bit about the digital value chain. So the digital value chain is where we look at an overall experience or how digital products flow from your consumers to your back-end system. We accomplish this through building apps or new digital experiences by developers, by application developers, who are consuming your APIs that are produced by the API team that are connected then to your back-ends, and then that all flows back to your consumer to deliver the digital experiences that those consumers are looking for. And today, we're going to focus on the circle there, the API team. And what is an API team and how that API team can deliver all of this for your organization. There are core members of successful API teams. They include an API product manager, an API architect, an API developer, an API evangelist, and an API champion. Now, we are going to go through each one of these today, but in addition to these, we're also going to talk a little bit about an API Scrum Master and an API Quality Assurance Lead for testing, and all of those individuals are part of the API development lifecycle. So how does this look in an organization? What might this actually look like? So a very simple org chart. You'll see in this example, we have a C-level leadership at the top, or some type of executive sponsor that is mandating the need for an API-first initiative within your organization. And through this mandate, we have the foundation and funding to support an API program. And the initial team may consist of the roles I just went over, an API champion, API program lead, or an API program lead, right? We'll get into this. Working with the API program product manager, an API architect and API developers, API Scrum Master, and the API evangelist, okay? That's all basically your API program team. Then we sometimes see that the structure is expanded where the API team also aligns with a shared service group that supports activities such as DevOps, continuous integration, continuous delivery support, monitoring, analytics, security. We may also see that line of business that is building apps with their own app product managers, app developers, app architects, and these lines of business then consume the APIs that the API team above is producing. Very common. That line of business, those app producers, may also be internal or external, to keep that in mind. Another example we see typically in larger enterprises may be a centralized API program with some sort of enablement team that is composed of the API champion, the API architect, and an API evangelist. And then lines of business are responsible for their own API development with their own API product managers and development roles. So that's what this example shows, right? That expands. So as you add more lines of business, you will have additional API product teams across those lines of business. And then we, again, add in that shared service piece, which is assisting in the development of APIs across all of those business units. So what are these roles all actually responsible for? Let's take a look. Let's start off with the API product manager. First, let's understand that we do, especially at Google, we treat APIs as products. They're really no different than the way we manage any other piece of software, application, or digital products within your business. APIs should be managed as products just like those, with their own product lifecycle. This is an example of a product lifecycle that consists of its own design phase. We document those APIs. We'll even market those APIs to bring them to developers so that they're aware of them and they consume them, and a commitment to analyze API usage that helps us iterate on the API products in the next cycle. It's a life cycle. So APIs as a product, it only makes sense that we have an API product manager to support that. To understand that need, we ask these questions. An API product manager would ask these questions. Who is the user? What are the user's needs? Why do they need it? When do they need it? Like other products in your organization, the API product manager should work with business and IT stakeholders, which include your customers, to answer all of those questions. And as a result, the API product manager is essentially the go-to person for designing APIs that will build those digital experiences from the outside in. Well, what's the outside in? The outside in is a design perspective. It's a philosophy that focuses on the overall digital experience of consumers, starting with how they view products and services on the outside of your company before flowing inward to connect with business processes and data systems inside your company. Now, the good news for all of you is this was our last webinar last month, and we have it all recorded. So here's a link. You can take a screenshot, click on it, copy it. After this webinar, you get the joy of listening to me again talk about the outside-in perspective. It's a great presentation. I highly recommend that you look at this and understand again how APIs could be considered products and how we use the outside-in perspective to build API products. But of course, in all of this, we need an API product manager to help us do it. Here's an example, real quickly. Mapping your APIs out can help you visualize that digital experience from the outside-in perspective. With this map filled in, the business and technology teams can start to see where APIs make sense. In some organizations, this stage is where application development teams can start consume APIs and collaborate in real time with your API team, right? And each one of these little blue API signs shows us where potential API products are. An API product manager can help spell this out for you, working with your API developers to produce it. Now, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for screenshots today. Again, we'll talk a little bit about how you can get a copy of the presentation. But here's an opportunity for screenshot. At the end of each section, I have a general job description and skill set for each role. Here's the API product manager job description. This is the person ultimately accountable for understanding the customer's needs and providing clear requirements to your API team. So go ahead, capture this one, and we'll have the others as we progress. Next, the API architect. I know there's a lot of architects on the call today. Let's see how well we align with what you do. The API architect is responsible for ensuring well-designed APIs with adherence to standards developed for the platform. These individuals are the key resource for ensuring quality delivered by developers by doing code reviews or putting processes in place, peer code reviews. API architects are also developers, typically, not always, which provides perspective for better design. The API architect should help design APIs that are understandable, useful, credible, and available. Understandable, meaning you want to remove complexity. API should be clear enough to understand that an app developer can look at it and know exactly what it does. They should be useful. Ensure that you have the documentation in place, that it's easy to follow, supports reusability, so developers can rapidly iterate as consumers' needs and demands change. Credible. Keep your delivery and support consistent. Be open and honest through reliable APIs that nurture developer relations. And available. Centralize those APIs using a developer portal to support that API-first vision and reduce time to market and foster collaboration all throughout the entire organization. The architect is helping you achieve all of this. An architect is also going to help you with governance. The goal of API governance is to manage risk while enabling speed to market. It's not a trade-off here. By having a set standard already predefined, you can empower your developers to produce new digital experiences faster. And then by leveraging continuous delivery and integration, you can improve your overall testing and release to meet consumer demands. How do we get to market faster? Governance. And by having architects that understand this. Look at these various governance models. We've got centralized, hybrid, or decentralized. An architect can make key governance decisions that either drive consistency or agility. So ask yourself some of these questions, especially those architects on the phone. What is more important, speed, quality, or reuse? How can you maintain quality, reduce risk, while speeding up development? Is there potentially a best of both worlds model? We do often see a lot of this hybrid model in today's enterprises. Something to keep in mind. Also, we see a lot of individuals creating virtual API teams or an API committee. These teams have a decentralized view to help mature your API playbook by getting representation from all throughout the organization with recurring meetups, discussions, centralized architecture that still has control, and then potentially the API architect might be your central tiebreaker. Keep in mind, this is all around APIs, not other enterprise-wide architectural decisions, although they may play a part, or significant part, in this overall process. Here's the API architect, another screenshot for you. The API architect owns solutions architecture for the API platform, which is what we were just talking about. Okay? Looking good so far. I see questions coming in. That's great. If you do have questions as we continue to go through this, please add them into the queue, and when we get to the end, we will do our best to go through and answer as many of the questions as we can. I'm sure everyone has a pretty firm understanding of the next role, the API developer. But here's the question for you. How do you keep your developers happy? Yes, developers need to be happy. Geez, I already hear it going off in your minds. Most companies are faced with this challenge today. Up at the top, we have all of the connected digital experiences that people are looking for, that your customers, employees, even partners are demanding. On the bottom, we've got our typical integration layers, our CRMs, third parties, databases, the systems of record. And unfortunately, in most organizations, they move at different paces. At least it takes months, weeks, months, multiple months. At the bottom layer, updating your ESB, and at the top, your consumers are expecting change in hours and days. So this is where Apogee comes in, right? We've got all of these tools to help you meet the demands of your consumers and develop APIs at a quicker pace. Apogee Edge can balance the pace of change between your back-end systems and your front-end digital experiences. That's all great. Ultimately, enterprises need to create great developer experiences in order to build an ecosystem for their APIs. That's our goal here for developers. And great API developer experiences include having great API products, a great API developer portal where you can find those API products, and great developer enablement through the dev portal. How do you find your APIs? How do you support your APIs? How do you iterate on your APIs? What are the analytics of your APIs? How do you onboard developers? All of those things need to happen to support your API developers, to make developer experiences great. Because I believe, at least, that happy developers will equal obtaining organizational value faster. That is really the key in the developer role, is supplying them with enough tools so that they can get their job done faster, right? Making and designing APIs from the architect perspective that makes sense. It's not confusing. Remove complexity. The API developers are responsible for developing your API proxies and adherence to your API specifications and standards developed by the API architect for the API platform. Again, go ahead, take a screenshot of this. This is good information for you to hold on to. Okay. The API evangelist. What in the world is an API evangelist? So we talked a little bit earlier, about developer experiences and how do we do that. We talked about, building dev portals. So the API evangelist is really a person who's responsible for helping make your developers happy and to enable other developers to come on board to the API program. So through things like enabling self-service, making it extremely easy to get started, and reduce the time it takes for an application developer to receive a valid response from your APIs, offer feedback loops, treating both internal and external teams the same way, supporting them, listening to them, and then iterating upon their feedback, as well as using metrics to also drive iteration. We capture and track and actually look at that data so that we can make adjustments to the APIs. And the evangelist is really the one who helps us get there. And an evangelist may also be looked at as sort of like a marketing role. Understanding where the developers are engaging with your APIs or falling off in the process is key. So if we begin to think like a marketer, say leveraging a traditional funnel like this one, this shows the 5 E's of engagement: excite, empower, entrust, engage, enable. Do we know what the anonymous developers who are coming to our portal are doing? Once they have registered, are they looking for a key? If they get a key, are they now using that key? Are they building an app? If they've built the app, have they started to publish that app? And we can keep going down. The evangelist is a role to help this perspective, while at the same time also working with the business to drive information to help grow, enable, expand, work with those lines of businesses and get them on board to the API platform. Ultimately, the API evangelist is your community support role. This is the individual that aligns the API consumers or the application developers with your API team. They are your go-to person to capture requirements, listen to developer needs, participate in events to engage with the developer community. This role on your API team is a critical part of defining useful APIs that will drive growth for your business. And here's some examples of things that you can do internally and externally to both capture requirements for your APIs or to engage with your community, to grow your API program, to grow usage of your program. Just a lot of different things to consider here. The evangelist would support each one of these. Here's an example of what happens when we take an API evangelist and working with an API developer portal. So this is AccuWeather, one of our customers. And with AccuWeather, they set up their dev portal, and again, the evangelist went to work, and within 10 months of launch, the AccuWeather dev portal had attracted more than 24,000 developers, and it had issued over 11,000 API keys and generated hundreds of purchases for API packages. This demonstrates, again, why it is critical for an API evangelist to be on your team. Screenshot away. The API evangelist is responsible for building relationships with your business units and developers to promote adoption of your APIs. They are part community manager, part marketing manager, and part product manager, all wrapped up into one role. I'm sure we're going to get several questions on this role, potentially. I do see a couple of comments about audio level being a little low. Can I get a double check on that? Maybe it's just a few people. I will try my best here to get the volume up for you. One second. Okay, hopefully this is better. If not, I apologize. I'll talk louder maybe. Maybe that will help. Okay, the API quality assurance lead. Here is a classic scenario when Apogee is between the client and target systems. On the top of that, Apogee might be doing service callouts to the other third-party systems, right? So what should be tested here? This isn't going to be a technical quiz, more so that we now start to see different types of behavior and data patterns that we want to test. And the key in this is that having an API quality assurance lead or an API tester is somebody that's going to be available to help you write test scripts to support your API development. They would understand this and be able to write the test or ensure that scripting, ensure that the appropriate actions are taken to, again, ensure quality. That's their role. We do have a lot of policies in place inside of Apogee for things like traffic management or security, mediation, extension of the platform. Each one of these potentially can be offered to perform different types of testing, whether that's performance testing, such as you could put a rate limit policy in place and then run a performance test that supports that rate limiting, or caching to improve functionality or deliverability of your data to your consumer, because ultimately they want data quickly. And if it's not happening quickly enough, they're going to be discouraged. We look at vulnerability testing across various security policies. We have integration testing, again, when we start looking at things like XML to JSON. Or we even have unit testing if we want to do specific types of service callouts. So all this testing is in place. All these policies are available to you, but you really need somebody to help you produce scripts to run these tests. In addition, we can add governance, once again, over top of this to help facilitate it all. And even more so, we can set up continuous integration and delivery to perform automated testing that adheres to governance, but you would need somebody in a testing capacity to help you with this. So now you start seeing how the QA lead and the architects and the developers all are working together to produce quality APIs. The API QA lead is responsible for developing test scripts for the user stories and putting it into, as I mentioned, a CI/CD tool for the developers and other team members to use. This role continuously supports the quality and deliverability of functional APIs that meets the demands of the API consumers. I know all of you have some sort of QA role at your organization, right? It's amazing to me sometimes when I talk to customers and they don't have QA people. Just throwing that out there. Okay, the API Scrum Master. How many of your teams, you can put it in the notes or so for me, or just make a note in the questions, either way. But I'm kind of curious, how many of your teams are currently using Agile as their primary methodology for developing software? I would love to know. It is key. I'm telling you right now. API should be no different than any other software that you are producing within your organization. If you're treating your APIs as products, like we keep telling you to, the Agile mindset works. It just works. It allows your teams to quickly iterate on new digital experiences. And it keeps up with the changing demands of your consumers. With Agile, you can focus on consumer collaboration and be able to respond to that change as opposed to, say, following a specific plan or previously negotiated contract between different business units. Those processes just don't work anymore in a digital era. It is your API Scrum Master's job to make this happen. Part of the Scrum Master's world is a development lifecycle. Now, the API development lifecycles, again, are no different than any other software you're producing or any other products that you are managing. The lifecycle allows your team to analyze consumer demands, write stories, design APIs as products, develop those API products or API proxies, test those APIs, deploy them to a developer portal, and then repeat. The entire life cycle should be focused on transforming customer expectations into digital experiences, which meet the demands of your consumers and brings value to your organization. Does that make sense? This is really a key piece of your API team. Having an Agile framework in place. If you want to become fully Agile, then we have something like this. The more nimble your API team is, the quicker your organization will be able to meet the demands of your consumers. I feel like I'm repeating myself a lot, but it is really the key to all of this. We can add in the API governance across your test definition through your API QA lead. We have sprints for your API development. We have continuous integration and continuous delivery to go live whenever we want, which all influences back up to the API product design through the API product manager in collaboration with your API evangelist who is on the ground listening to developers and consumers. And it all just flows together. Here's an example of that. T-Mobile. They had an Agile API team in place along with Apogee, and since 2013, T-Mobile became 67% faster in resolving technical issues. Their app release and change processes went from months to daily, and they were able to reduce their physical server footprint by well over 1,000 servers. All of this catapulting their postpaid subscribers by over 15 million. It is a wonderful customer story, use case, that demonstrates the power of using APIs through Apogee and having an API team in place to iterate on the demands of consumers. You can take a screenshot of this too if you want. API Scrum Master, as I've said, is responsible for leading the team during implementation and utilizing an iterative delivery methodology. It doesn't always have to be Agile, but it should be something that is Agile. They are the chief alignment officer across all of your teams, aligning both technical, business, design, product to produce and deliver APIs. Okay, and finally, the API champion. Let's hope that at the end of this, we can ordain some of you as being API champions. What is an API champion? An API champion, or sometimes we refer them as an API program leader, is going to be the one who helps you create your API team. Together, the team should aim to adopt an outside-in mindset, which we've talked about, an agile software development process, which we've talked about, and the team should feel empowered to start building APIs and focusing on governance, rapid deployment, RESTful design principles, consistency. The core team builds up experience, and then the champion should be setting a mandate to train other teams, other business units, other partners to build APIs quickly and in accordance with the design best practices and principles that the enterprise has specified. The champion will also shield the team from constraints, such as funding or existing service governance that they have to adhere to. This allows you to focus on doing what it takes to create and deliver highly consumable APIs. The API champion should also understand who are your top competitors, who are the new entrants, and what do their digital strategies look like? How about emerging technologies and business trends in your market? These are all questions that any successful leader should be prepared to answer. In addition to the competitive landscape, it is more important that they are constantly interacting with the API consumers, whether those are internal, external, or both, and engaging frequently with customers. The program lead or champion ensures that your product teams understand and prioritize features based on consumer value. The API program leader will want to evaluate their existing organization structure and also, as we've talked about earlier, bring both the business and technology strategies together. Successful API programs are not only about a technology strategy that enables the operation of a digital layer across your value chain, but also it calls for a broader business strategy, which most organizations forget about. As we've been talking about, when we want to meet the demand sooner to make our consumers happy, that's a business strategy. API program success is more likely when business and IT departments work together to define success, make investment decisions, and bring products and services to market. By creating this strong organizational alignment on strategies and aligning that API program vision accordingly, the API champion successfully paves an open path for the program and understands how to communicate the value of APIs across your entire enterprise. We also want to make sure that your API program drives sustained and increasing value for your business. The API champion should establish key performance indicators, or KPIs, for the API program that are direct contributors to the overall enterprise metrics. For example, as you begin your API program journey, one of the most important metrics we recommend really for any API program is a measure of velocity at which digital experiences are created. But metrics of the API program should also include things like your applications, your partners, your backend systems. It's important to understand metrics around how your team is able to drive growth, expansion, and speed to market. All of this should be managed at a high level. So, for an API program to be successful, it's critical to have a strong leader to break those barriers and change processes and do really whatever is needed for your organization to move more quickly. Identifying the right person who has the authority to do so will lay the foundation to operationalize a strong central API program and demonstrate the true value of APIs. For an API program to succeed, a champion must rise from the depths of vicious despair, breaking away from the chains of technical debt and dreary processes to lead a rebellious group of API warriors on a journey of digital excellence while empowering communication to all throughout the entire organization. Dum-da-da-dum. How many API champions do I have here? Okay, so how does this work in your business today? We talked earlier about the compass, which we mentioned it at the beginning. Now is your opportunity after the webinar here to go take the assessment, ask the right questions, answer the right questions, answer the questions in the right way. Be honest. I don't want to sit here and try to give you all of the inside scoop, but be honest about your organization. Talent is a piece of the puzzle. It's a small piece, but as we said, you need the right talent in place to be able to drive success with your API program. Do your people have the right mindset and skills? And do your APIs have product managers? Those are just two of the questions that you should be asking. Take the Compass assessment. Part of that is around execution. A lot of what we talked about today also fits within the execution. This is the point that leaders begin to execute their vision. Software development lifecycle, talent, having self-service tools in place. Compass.apogee.com. Go there, take the assessment, and I would love to hear from you in terms of what your score is and any questions that you have related to the score and what the assessment says about your team structure and talent, or any of these elements. We do supply a lot of feedback and best practice information to help you get your score up. But if you want to have a conversation with me, I would love to talk to you about what your score is and how we can help you. Okay, questions. I see a lot of questions coming through here. So give me a moment. Let me Let me pull these up. We don't have a lot of time. Let me first start by saying that this presentation is being recorded. We record the webinar and we will post them on YouTube. Once we have that link, we will share it out with everybody here. We do not share the decks themselves. So that's why I was saying take some screenshots. And again, we do have it recorded, so you can listen to it. You can fast forward through it. You can pause on the various sections or listen to me over and over again as much as you want. So that is there, and it will be available to you shortly. So that should answer a bunch of questions. But let's see, what other questions do we have in here? Seems like we've got a bunch of confirmations that the audio is working. That's great. Audio is good. Okay. Let's see. Hi. When you get a chance, could you please show the API product manager profile again? Yeah, I could probably find it again. But as I mentioned, we will have this available shortly so that you can, you can look at it. But let me look real quick. I should be able to find it, and then I will share it again. And I'll get on to here we go. There it is, API Product Manager profile again. Now you can take your screenshot. Let's see, here's another one. Do you see the different roles discussed on the API team as peers or equals? Yes, I would say in most cases, just like we outlined in the structure, I would even argue on some level that the API champion is potentially a peer or an equal. We do, however, tend to see one person as an API program lead or API program leader managing this team. It doesn't always have to happen that way, but it can happen that way. I think it all depends upon your internal organizational structure, your headcounts, resources that are currently available. But you could do this several different ways, either, again, as a peer or as a true manager. Okay? Here's another question. Again, if you have questions, feel free, write them on in. I'll do my best to answer them here. We've got a couple more minutes. Talent needs to be taken independently or in groups, which gives correct or closer results. Does talent need to be taken independently or in groups, which gives correct or closer results? I'm trying to process this question, but I would say that if I'm reading this right, our recommendation, our best practice recommendation is that you have a dedicated API team, a group that is solely focused on helping you produce APIs that, as we've said time and time again, that will help drive value to the organization. If you tend to have groups or talent in silos, which we do see often, where you may potentially have one business unit working on their own APIs and another business unit working on their own APIs, then you potentially run into a situation where efforts are being duplicated. You end up with APIs that are basically performing the same functionality, and it becomes cluttered. When you can centralize an API team, then you end up with a way that you can also centralize your APIs across your enterprise for reusability, quicker time to market, right? In theory, I could say, hey, I need an API to do this. So I can go to the dev portal, I can look through the library of available APIs within the organization, and I can find what I'm looking for. I've just saved myself two weeks of development work because it's already been done. That's one of the benefits of actually grouping everybody together into an API team. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay, another one here. Can we share the Drupal portal roles and skills? Oh, so that's a good question. Part of the developer portal strategy is twofold. There's actually a couple of different ways you can produce a developer portal, but from a Drupal perspective, yes, you potentially will run into a scenario where you need developers to produce and manage that developer portal, especially if it's in Drupal. Some organizations already have Drupal expertise on hand, so you may need a Drupal developer specifically who understands that. You may need specifically a product owner to manage the Drupal portal development process, as well as a Scrum Master. You may also have an internal web development team that can also produce that. So as opposed to kind of bringing in new people just to produce your developer portal, you may leverage your existing web teams that are already doing this for your existing websites. And those roles would then be no different than what they already have in place to support your .com, or other types of portals you have. Okay. Another question here. Are these roles dedicated resources, or can they be shared among multiple clients? Yes and no and yes and maybe. So our recommendation is that you have a dedicated full-time API team. Now, that doesn't always have to be across all of these roles. As an example, I will move real quickly again to another. Here, we'll do this one. If you look at this example organization, you'll see that in the top, we've got that API champion or API program lead. We've got an API architect and an API evangelist. Those three roles, I would argue, are full-time. You need somebody who's going to help you manage your API program and the API platform, Apogee. From there, when we get into things like your API product manager and API Scrum Master, depending on how much API work you have, you may see that workload split part-time across multiple projects, across multiple different products. Say you are producing a mobile application as well as a website application. There's no reason why you couldn't have somebody who is balancing both of those products, digital products, with API development. Same thing, API developers, they may switch back and forth depending upon what your specific needs are. In large organizations that have a substantial amount of API traffic, API development, we do tend to see full-time API developers, full-time API Scrum Masters, et cetera. So it's a good analysis to kind of look through and understand. Okay? Any other questions? It looks like we've tackled all of the questions here. But if there are any, before we get going, you've got 30 seconds to share one. Otherwise, I want to thank you all for sticking with us, listening in. Like I said, we will be producing this into a video format and sharing it on YouTube, and then we can share that link out to everybody so that you can re-listen. Once again, my email address is available. I'm going to pop that up again real quick so that you have that. It's chrishood@google.com. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Share with me your Compass scores. Let me know what things I can help you with. And I want to thank you again for tuning in. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.